From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight, an escalation in the conflict between Israel and Palestinian groups in Gaza has resulted in at least 765 Palestinians killed, including 143 children and 105 women, along with 900 Israeli deaths. More than 4,000 Palestinians and 2,600 Israelis have been wounded. This comes after Hamas initiated Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. It began in response to Israeli settlers storming Al-Aqsa Mosque under Israeli police protection over the last few weeks, as well as rising Israeli settler violence. Israel has retaliated with Operation Swords of Iron targeting Gaza. While Israel claims its strikes are aimed at military installations of the Hamas and Islamic Jihad groups, the Gaza-based Interior Ministry says the targets were primarily civilian residences. Amid the devastation, the UN Commission of Inquiry has voiced concerns, suggesting clear evidence of potential war crimes committed by both sides. Human Rights Watch has also criticized the Israeli Defense Minister's declaration to deprive Gaza of essentials such as food and electricity, calling it a war crime. Doctors Without Borders says Gaza is on the verge of depleting its medical supplies, with concerns centered on surgical equipment and fuel shortages. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas spoke with several Arab leaders, stressing the urgency to cease Israeli aggression on Gaza. Iraqi Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein expressed concern that the conflict might spread to neighboring nations and last another 10 days. Russia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sergei Lavrov, emphasized the necessity of creating a Palestinian state alongside Israel, in line with UN Security Council resolutions. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and extended support for the Jewish state. The move reflects a change from the Cold War, when India did not have open relations with Israel and leaned heavily in favor of the Palestinians. In related news, Israeli attacks since Saturday have destroyed 7 Gaza mosques. The most recent of these is the Al-Abbas Mosque. Israel has also hit the Al-Susi, Al-Yarmouk, Al-Amin Muhammad, Ahmed Yassin, Al-Habib Muhammad, and Al-Gharbi mosques. Ex-President Donald Trump is using the ongoing conflict in Israel and Palestine to promise the reimposition of a travel ban on individuals from predominantly Muslim countries. During a campaign rally in New Hampshire this week, Trump extended support for Israel and pledged to cut off funding to terrorists while vowing to reinstate the travel ban. The 2017 ban restricted entry to the U.S. for people from 7 predominantly Muslim nations. President Joe Biden reversed the policy upon taking office, but a recent investigation revealed lasting consequences for affected families. Republicans, including Trump, are using this latest crisis to criticize the Biden administration's immigration policies and a recent prisoner swap with Iran. Trump claimed, without evidence, that tens of thousands of potential terrorists have entered the U.S. since the travel ban was lifted. However, the FBI has not identified any credible threats related to the Hamas attacks in Israel. Trump's rhetoric mirrors his 2016 campaign, when he called for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the U.S. Other Republican presidential candidates, such as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, have expressed similar sentiments. Experts say the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has undergone a seismic shift following Saturday's attack by Hamas. Palestinian analysts believe it will have long-term strategic implications. Saturday's attack is being attributed to Gaza's dire economic conditions, Israeli criminal actions in the West Bank, and the possibility of a deal to normalize relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The conflict may also divert attention from Israel's internal crisis over its judicial overhaul. Experts say Israel's self-confidence has been shaken with the attack, and its retaliatory response may be harsh in the coming weeks. Possible scenarios include Israel sending soldiers into Gaza, assassinating key Palestinian leaders, and opening new fronts, especially in Lebanon. But they also note that Arab and international efforts may de-escalate the situation, pushing Israel to respond strategically rather than impulsively. Amid the escalating conflict in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories, the U.S. is ramping up its support for Israel. A senior Defense Department official revealed on Monday the U.S. is providing additional air defense weapons and expediting equipment and munitions to Israel. It is also speeding up pending Israeli orders for military equipment from American industries. The U.S. has already met all of Israel's requests, with shipments on the way. Officials hope these actions serve as a deterrent to Iran, Lebanese Hezbollah, and other regional groups. Meanwhile, the Israeli army disclosed the names of 12 military personnel killed in the conflict, bringing the death toll of Israeli forces to 85. Malaysia questions double standards of global community. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Malaysia is questioning the double standards of the international community over Palestine. Addressing lawmakers in Parliament, Deputy Prime Minister Ahmed Zahid Hamidi said Western nations swiftly extended support to Ukraine but disregarded Palestine. The Daily Malay Mail reports that Hamidi highlighted the contrast in how the international community responded to calamities in Palestine and Ukraine. He said any community that lives under oppression, suffering, and injustice without defense will have a breaking point. Hamidi blamed Israel, backed by Jewish radical factions, for the provocation that has escalated into a war. Oil prices have experienced a notable increase due to heightened supply concerns stemming from the Israel-Palestine conflict. Data revealing a surge in demand from China, the world's largest oil importer, bolstered the upward trend in prices. International benchmark crude Brent rose to $86.89 per barrel, marking a 2.7% gain compared to the previous trading session's closing price of $84.58 a barrel on Friday. Contributors to the price surge include Iran's public support for Palestine and the potential suspension of talks between Iran and Western powers. The Iran nuclear deal, signed in 2015 by Iran, the US, China, Russia, France, the UK, Germany, and the EU, could play a pivotal role in alleviating supply concerns. Under this agreement, Iran pledged to limit its nuclear activities for civilian purposes, and in return, global powers agreed to lift economic sanctions against Iran. Germany has temporarily suspended cooperation with the Palestinian territories as a result of Hamas's recent attack on Israel. Spokeswoman for the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, Katharian Kufen, made the announcement on Monday. Kufen says the programs will be reviewed comprehensively and with an open outcome. She added that more than $130 billion in bilateral development cooperation was promised this year and next. It includes longer-term development projects in water supply and sanitation, vocational training, jobs for young people, and food security. Suspension of development aid does not affect Germany's humanitarian aid to the Palestinian territories, which will continue via international aid agencies. The European Union also announced its assistance to Palestinian territories will continue without suspension. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell says the review of EU's assistance for Palestinians will not suspend due payments. European Commissioner for Crisis Management, Janez Lenarčič, notes that EU humanitarian aid to Palestinians in need will continue as long as necessary. Israeli bombs hit a school run by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, or UNRWA, in Gaza. The UN says the school was housing 225 displaced people. Although no casualties were reported, the school was significantly damaged. UN spokesman Stefan Dujarric said all UN schools in Gaza have been closed, affecting more than 300,000 students. UNRWA said thousands of Palestinians have taken refuge in the schools to avoid being bombed. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani says Palestine is strong enough to defend itself without any assistance and denied Iran's involvement in Saturday's attack. He said some allegations were made not to expose Israel's weakness and defeat in line with political objectives and to divert attention elsewhere. Kanani said the Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian has proposed the Organization of Islamic Cooperation hold a meeting to provide assistance to Palestinians. The number of people dead and injured in last Saturday's earthquake in Afghanistan's Herat province has exceeded 4,000. Disaster Management Ministry spokesman Mullah Janan Saiq says roughly 2,000 houses in 20 villages of the Zindajan and Horayan districts were destroyed. He says the ministry is struggling to gather the exact figures of dead and injured. Saiq called on the international community to help Kabul respond to the earthquake's damage. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.